Okay, let's go ahead and start. Maria, you want to open up for us?
Sure. So, first of all, welcome everyone. This is my DM speaking. I am Consuli's showrunner, and I'm here to share a few LinkedIn pointers to get you started and to introduce Consuli to everyone on our audience. So, first of all, please take this time to use the invite button that you can see at the bottom of your screen to invite your friends and your colleagues to this event. If you have a lot of followers and want to narrow down that search, you can use words like clinical trials or research to find people that might be interested to join us today. We'll be recording this discussion and we will include the link in our summary post on LinkedIn as well as in our clinical trials one burning question LinkedIn group. So we would like to encourage you to join us on our group and follow Consuli's social so you can get notifications of our upcoming events. Also, feel free to tap on profiles to follow me and all of our moderators and panelists here today. And be sure to check out and follow others in the room when you are inspired. We encourage audience participation in the second half of the program. So if you find yourself inspired, please feel free to raise your digital hand and we'll do our best to get everyone to talk with us. You will also see the emoji bottom at the bottom of your screen, and you can use that to respond if you want to be involved but are not prepared to speak. Now, for those of you that don't yet know Consuli, broadly, Consuli is a public benefit company with a mission to enable individuals to participate in the data economy. Experts suggest our digital individual health data is worth $20,000 per year. Consuli helps people choose who gets access to and how their personal information is used, and if and when desired, we help them get paid for the data and can make medicine better. Consuli does this by operating a marketplace for members where Consuli becomes their agent. Members receive the Smart Match individualized offers from Consuli for opportunities, including to participate in clinical trials and data trials. There is no cost for individuals to join the Consuli movement. Consuli offers sponsors for data and clinical trials a unique opportunity to find and reach individual members. You can learn more of Consuli at consuli.net. Individuals can readily join, and sponsors can fill out the contact us form to indicate their interest in exploring a relationship. Very soon, I will post a link for ease in our event post on LinkedIn so you can access all of this information. And it is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to our moderator, Christine Von Raesfeld, who will introduce our one burning question and esteemed panel here. Christine, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Maria, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Christine Von Raesfeld, and I am so excited to welcome you all back to our clinical trials one burning question. After a few months of hiatus, we are excited to return with this month's OBQ, which is what economic and ethical considerations arise when individuals share their health data with AI systems. As a person with lived experience, a board member for the Light Collective, and one of the co-authors of the AI Rights Initiative for Patients, funded by the Betty Moore Foundation, I am passionate about today's discussion. This question is particularly important as we navigate the rapidly evolving landscape of healthcare technology. Sharing health data with AI systems can lead to groundbreaking advancements in personalized medicine, more effective drug development, and improved patient outcomes. However, it also raises significant economic and ethical concerns. Economically, we must consider who benefits from the monetization of health data and how these benefits are distributed. Ethically, we need to address issues of consent, privacy, and the potential for re-identification of anonymized data. Ensuring that individuals retain ownership and control over their data is crucial to maintaining trust and fostering a collaborative environment between patients and technology developers. For those new to our conversation, our clinical trials OBQ was designed for clinical trialists, pharma and biotech industry professional, patients, and patient advocates interested in solving burning questions in clinical trials. We hold these sessions monthly, and the next one is currently scheduled for December 20th from 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific time. It is now my pleasure to introduce my co-moderator panelists, Jackie Blen, president at Cardiff Clinical Consulting, Inc., Jennifer Bonfrisco, is Jennifer on here? Clinical trial consultant, patient advocate, and keynote speaker. Teo Romero, alliance and relationship management consultant. And Michael Young, principal and founder of Michael, it's kind of cut off. Is it Biomed RX?
It's BiomedWorks. And just a quick note to you, you mentioned 9 to 10 p.m. in December. It'll actually be 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Thank you, Michael. It's
no
so
problem.
early. So to help us, thank you, Michael. And to help us explore this topic, I'm joined by two guests with so much insights to share. First, Dr. Arpitha Parthasarathy. I think I got that right. I was trying to practice. MBA is a visionary leader whose career seamlessly blends scientific innovation, business acumen, and a profound commitment to societal well-being. With over 2 decades of experience in clinical and biomedical sciences, Dr. Parthasarathy has made groundbreaking contributions to healthcare and distinguished herself in both federal and private sectors. Her strategic insights and operational excellence have consistently driven profitability and streamlined processes in hospitals and medical institutions worldwide, significantly advancing patient recovery in ophthalmology, oncology, and mental health. As the founder of several transformative initiatives in the pipeline, Dr. Parthasarathy, it is like really a word mess for me, has transitioned seamlessly from conceptualization to commercialization, contributing to health economics. A published scientist and revered healthcare data strategist, her ability to articulate complex scientific concepts to diverse audience has fostered collaborative environments thriving on innovation in the smart healthcare technology sector. Her dedication extends beyond professional achievements, and her biography is a testament to her unwavering commitment, intellectual intrepidity, and the profound impact she continues to have on the global healthcare landscape. Also joining our discussion is Dr. Darshan Kulkarni. Dr. Kulkarni is the principal attorney at Kulkarni. He advises FDA-regulated companies and healthcare providers on a variety of issues, including clinical research, advertising, marketing, telemedicine, pharmacy, and more. He is an attorney, a pharmacist, and has a master's in quality assurance, regulatory affairs. He's currently teaching as an adjunct professor at Drexel University School of Law. He previously taught law and ethics at the University of Sciences, where he was a visiting professor. He has served as chair of the American Bar Association's Life Science Interest Group and serves as vice chair in the business law section. He has written numerous book chapters for multiple editions of books, serves on various boards, including serving as the first chair of the Emily Whitehead Foundation. He is also bringing his own software to the market as we speak, so please feel free to reach out and discuss that with him. With his 20 years of experience as a pharmacist and 20 years of experience as a lawyer, he sees a 360-degree view of healthcare and life science industries. Having created companies, developed products, and sold the finished products at the pharmacy, Darshan has a unique and encompassing perspective on the life science industry, the health industry, and the gaps that exist. That was long. And Arpathy, I'm sorry about the mispronunciations. It's one of those mornings, but let's get started. So I want to talk about something that's becoming increasingly relevant in healthcare, AI agents. For example, Hippocratic AI has developed agents that can call patients and ask for personal details. While this technology has great potential, it also raises some serious concerns. There's a risk that bad actors could pose as these AI systems to steal sensitive information, especially since patients may not be able to tell if they're talking to a human or an AI. So to start out, what do you think? how can health systems make sure they have strong verification processes in place to protect patient safety and data security when using AI agents like these? So my first, Darshan, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'm happy to. I think the key piece here right now is we've already had some cases where people have come out and people's identities have been stolen. There was one of the famous cases in the last year or so where a boss allegedly spoke to someone, said release it was in a key amount of money, like $25 million or so, and it was like a Zoom call. The guy released the money. Turns out it wasn't the boss. It was an AI chatbot that was combined with like a fake face. And we're going to see more of that. Insurers are not asking if this is going to happen. Insurers are already going, when is this going to happen? How do we insure against this? What do you do? Some of the things people are already talking about are having things like code words that only you would know. And that's one of the things we might start talking about. How do you do that at a patient level? I think people are still struggling through because consent is going to become critically important. I think you're going to start entering a world where blockchain is going to become more and more important. And as you start seeing Elon Musk through the Doge program take it to life, you're going to see some of these efforts being put through, and some of them are going to be great successes, and some of them are going to be great failures. So we're going to have to find out which ones are which. But I think this is the start of something that we can't predict the end of, if you will.
And I agree with you on every point that you've put there. Arpitha, do you want to join in? And Darshan, you're a little bit foggy for some of our audience members. I did hear that, but if you want to take a step back or somewhere, you were great earlier in the broadcast. But
is this better? Is it better or not quite? Or is that worse? Sorry, I'm calling him from India, so I apologize.
Yeah, I know. And he is calling from India. It is late for him, and so we are thankful that you can join us. Let's work on it. But while you do that, Arpitha, do you want to join in and answer the question yourself or give us your thoughts?
Yes, sure. So thank you, Christine, and I'm glad you can call me by my first name. And the topic today is very interesting. We all know that AI has a lot of potential in diagnostics, treatment, personalization, precision medicine, and name it, in any disease prediction, and so on and so forth, which will revolutionize the healthcare system itself. But it also comes with it requires several advancements too. And what I would probably ask, or put it in a composite manner, is that how can we establish some of the universally accepted gold standards for AI-driven healthcare systems, which can prevent the misuse of health data, empower the patients with their ownership and informed decision-making ability, reduce healthcare costs, which in fact will directly and indirectly improve the healthcare efficiency and also alleviate the federal deficit itself. So it is a total ecosystem in itself. And therefore, today's topic is of immense importance, as also mentioned by Dr. Kulkarni a few minutes ago. We would want to see what the Doge committee is going to come up with and revolutionize the system itself and reduce the regulatory requirements, which would be essential as well, rather than increasing the number of regulatory systems due to AI, but rather ease the system so that there is efficiency in the process for bettering the healthcare outcomes.
I think those are great.
Curious. I'm actually curious. Do people think that there is too much regulation in AI right now?
That's an interesting question. And if you didn't hear Darshan's question, he's asking if people think there is right now any regulations in AI. Have I heard that correctly, right, Darshan?
That's a good question.
I asked if there's too much regulation.
Or too much
regulations. Exactly.
So they are still, at least from the federal perspective here, everyone is we are trying to learn ourselves and have a clear-cut definitions, trying to initiate some of these AI definitions so that they don't overlap with the AI ML algorithms, and what makes AI more of an AI as opposed to just being a simple algorithm for that matter. So the process is still evolving. We are still expecting newer regulations, regulatory requirements. We are still not aware as to how much of requirements or policies or newer policies are going to come in place, but they sure will at some point, and it is essential too. Otherwise, the kind of data that is used to create some of these AI health systems and prediction analytics has to be more reliable and transparent for the adopters, in the sense the subjects or the patients, as well as veterans for that matter. So we have several screenings and several regulations when we are trying to implement some of the AI projects as well within the VA, where I am working right now. So it is still evolving at the moment.
And from my perspective as a patient, I don't think there's enough regulations, or at least the right regulations in place.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my thought on that. But I want to move on because we have touched on this, and we can go back afterwards as well. But let's dive into the economic considerations of sharing health data with AI systems. So what are the potential economic benefits for individuals who share health data with AI systems? And Arpitha, if you could you discuss the financial incentives and improved healthcare outcomes from your experience in clinical and biomedical sciences?
Yeah. So, well, when it comes to the economic benefits and sharing the healthcare data with the AI systems, it allows for personalization, improves the precision medicine. It leads to early diagnosis, which we miss out. And I think that is one of the most critical as well. And AI would economically benefit in terms of targeted treatments and eliminates the waste, makes the system and the process itself lean. So there are some of the green flags when it comes to adopting AI systems itself. It can reduce unnecessary medical intervention. So it brings about a balance in the balance or the economies of scale between the providers and the subjects or the patients who are involved. It cuts the out-of-pocket expenses as well. And AI-driven systems can also optimize the use of medications, avoid costly treatment approaches as well. And the system also allows and enhances preventive care by predicting some of the potential health risks, which will enable the subject in a timely manner to maintain a lifestyle intervention at the early stage itself. And individuals also can benefit from incentives such as reduced insurance premiums for that matter, because their data contributes to the metrics as well. And it's a critical issue. There's a critical issue as well in terms of potential misuse when we see the other side of AI, because there are very fewer regulations, as you also mentioned earlier, and there is potential there is a possibility that it could be an intentional or unintentional biased misuse of data by the insurance companies or any other companies and providers, where predictive health markets could lead to discrimination as well, increase inequity, and that's not what we want. We want the system to work in favor of the healthcare outcomes, and so there can be discrepancies in this manner that can occur as well in terms of in terms of the economics and how this would work out for the patient community. And some of the other key financial initiatives would be to in precision medicine or to go a step further to say it should evolve into enabling personalized medicine and enable some of the treatments that are actually needed for long-term, to reduce the long-term healthcare expenses, for improving the quality of life of patients.
And I got dropped there. I'm assuming Michael stepped in for me. Darshan, in thinking about that same question, how do you see data sharing leading to cost savings in healthcare from a regulatory, compliance, and industry perspective?
Before I start, can you guys hear me okay? Or is it still muffling?
I can hear you. Can someone else in our audience chime in on thoughts?
I can hear you well, Darshan.
Okay, great.
Hey,
Thank you for
Darshan,
confirming
it's
that.
Michael.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to let you know it's the background noise. So if you are using a headset, maybe that would be the better way to do that.
Yeah.
I am using a headset, so I should take it off, is what you're suggesting? Happy to do that if that helps.
Yeah, sometimes that does make a difference if you...
Okay, so let me try one thing. And I'm glad you guys told me just a second.
Thanks for that tip, Michael.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, perfect now.
Okay, great. I have a slightly more muffled sound, but I can work with this. So the question was, what do I see as the economic impact on a compliance, legal, regulatory standpoint? I think I echo what Arpitha is saying in that I think that there will overall be some savings. I'm a little concerned overall that there is so much AI hype right now, and I think we're in the middle of an AI hype cycle. And everything the solution seems to be AI. Reminds me of 5 years ago when it was blockchain, and everything the solution was blockchain. I think AI has some incredible uses, and I hope that we are intelligent about how we bring that to bear. And the result of that would be potential and great cost savings. I think Arpitha pointed out some great points as to where those cost savings might be. My point, however, would be patient safety. And AI is only as good as the predictive models it uses. We've already seen, as discussed previously, there are risks for things like discrimination. There are risks for things like new samples that we simply didn't consider wouldn't show up in the models that are being used. And the result of that is going to be individual. The people we didn't expect to be included, that our models didn't consider previously, would just get excluded because they aren't part of the models. However, I think at the larger scale, there will be drop in costs. But I would caution and suggest that we consider individual needs as we continue. So overall, from an economic standpoint, all good. Better, well, not all good, but better. But let's keep an eye out for safety.
And you've both touched on the individual here. So how can the AI systems help in reducing healthcare costs for the patients and providers as well? We've talked on a systems level, but Arpitha, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So from the provider's perspective, I believe it narrows down because of using predictive systems, and also very similar to distributed. If what Darshan was also mentioning about blockchain and having some of these transparencies, if the data can be made transparent and notified to the patients, if that transparency is maintained by the provider, the access to care increases as well. From the provider's perspective, they can provide the services much better, and ultimately the doctors would have less burden on them as well. And it just will make the entire process more efficient for the both the healthcare providers, the hospitals. The overall system efficiency will improve, and it will reduce the cost involved for both the providers as well as the healthcare spent expenditure also will be reduced, and that's one of the key drivers for the AI systems for the healthcare organizations in terms of when it comes to monitoring hospitals, emergency visits, which are important cost drivers as well. And patients will be able to they'll be empowered with their own health data and make informed decisions too.
That's something I believe in as well. Darshan, what do you believe will be the impact on clinical settings from your comprehensive view of the healthcare industry?
I think AI in clinical studies, we're already starting to see the first stage of companies coming out saying that they have an AI solution in the clinical research space. I think it's a little soon because I don't think the AI technologists have actually thought about and companies themselves have actually thought about the other impacts because everyone's so happy with AI. There are some major issues that we have to deal with, and actually do a full hour-long presentation on exactly this, on the AI impact. Specifically, we talk about things like bias, and we talk about things like the black box problem. But very important for the pharma industry is IP and ownership. And this is going to become a major issue because most governments are still struggling with what could be included and is protectable if AI discovers it. Whether we're talking about copyrights, whether we're talking about patents, your ownership becomes problematic. So in a world where you may not own this, will companies actually advance and spend the money on clinical research when the AI technology is being used? And I think that the concern I would have is that either companies will abandon products that use AI, or we're going to have a dramatic restructuring of how IP gets considered. And the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the United States Copyright Office, and global copyright offices are all trying to struggle their way through this. Trade secrets will continue to thrive, if anything, but that'll exist only as long as the process exists, because there are inherent problems with the data actually being used that's already been input into AI for the training purposes, especially in the context of generative AI. So we can have a whole conversation on just IP ownership, but there are a variety of problems. I think from a clinical research perspective, the other advantages you're going to have are just the amount of data and sort of analysis you can do almost at a real-time level. And I think we've been talking about that, and the FDA has been a big fan of it since ARA in 2009, where they were talking about using real-time data. So the FDA already has been working towards getting data from healthcare providers. And AI will provide an opportunity to start using that data to the extent they have it. With someone like Elon Musk coming in, with someone like Vivek Ramaswamy coming in, we expect that they might start pulling in that data, because there is such a dearth of data available. But now, with technologists leading the charge, we might see some opportunities, and that might lead to some growth and the like. But hopefully, I'm straight too far from the topic, because I could talk about this a little too long.
Well, Darshan, I want to invite you too. We also have some conversations coming up around data dignity, and we'll focus solely on that topic. So I would love to invite you back for one of our discussions there. I'm going to switch over because I know that we want to get some time for our audience and everyone else, but I have two other questions on the economic side for you. If we shift over to the ethical considerations is what I want to move to. What are the key ethical considerations when it comes to sharing health data with AI systems? And let me first go to you, Arpitha. What privacy issues and potential for misuse of data do you see in your work with healthcare data strategists?
So at the Veterans Affairs, it's slightly different from the civilian patient data. So I will try to touch upon both, and how the information from Veterans Affairs or the data from that's publicly available can be used for the civilian adaptations as well. So some of my thoughts on key ethical concerns would be data privacy, consent, fairness in AI decision making. So, and that's quite a bit of a complex topic, I would say, in terms of AI decision making as well, and that impacts the service providers and insurance providers as well, and that drives the cost too. And just for example, just because a person is a smoker and it's a risk factor, their premiums, they should not be paying more. So, in other words, every rule has an exception, and every theory has a corollary too. So, doesn't mean that a person who is a smoker he does have a behavioral health, but that may not he may have a long life and may not live with any ailments or may not have other comorbidities. As opposed to in Veterans Affairs, we take each of our veterans very carefully, and we know that they need extra care and attention because of the nature of work and such. And most of these cases come under the behavioral health cases, even if they are smokers or so, because it might exacerbate the symptoms of other disease conditions as well. So there can be several ways that one might identify, but the insurance providers, if they just look at the fact that the person is a smoker or a tobacco user, that should not be a factor to increase their premiums as well. So I think that's where AI plays a huge role in its decision making, because it will use composite data, and as we grow with time and more IPs and such, I'm sure the frameworks that the companies or the federal institutions will use will be authenticated in its own way to confirm that the AI systems are not biased, and it would provide more clarity to patients. I think that's more important as well, to aim at providing clarity to patients about how their own data is going to be used and how it is going to lead to trust or potential breach of trust. So that has to be a key point, ethical issue that has to be addressed. Another issue would be misuse or unfair use of predictive health markers. An attention or ethical concerns also arise due to bias, which has to be eliminated. And how that's possible is by reverse engineering what the AI algorithm would identify, and go back to prove using several prospective clinical trials to ensure that what the algorithm has been proposing is in fact true, and ensure the evidence-based medicine is in play to remove some of these ethical concerns as well. And additionally, ensure that there is transparency, accountability if the AI process and the data becomes very critical to avoid some of the unintended consequences as well. Ethical AI systems must also prioritize patient autonomy, safeguard the data against misuse, and aim for equitable outcomes across diverse populations as well. Because in the United States, the genomic background is diverse, and hence more than precision medicine, I think it is important to give value to personalized medicine and personalized care, which AI systems, if ethically regulated through policies and through the use of lobbyists and such, with a strong data, it can be handled.
I agree with you on all of those points. And Darshan, what are your thoughts on data security and patient consent from a legal and regulatory standpoint?
So it's interesting. I've been involved in a couple of situations where we had technology companies that were trying to buy a hospital's worth of data, primarily for the data itself. And what we discovered was that in those specific instances, the data itself wasn't consented to. As a result of that, the deal itself fell through. Uh, I'm seeing more and more M&A activity in this space that is hinging on the data itself. And what you're noticing is that companies who have data think they can use the data are discovering that they never had access to it. I've been involved in another situation where there was a physician who was willingly, from one of the larger universities, willingly giving away patient data because he was trying to ingratiate himself with the company, but he didn't. The physician was not supposed to share that data. The university had not authorized that. My point being, from a security standpoint, from a compliance standpoint, you're seeing these um, you're seeing people who are interested in helping the technology move forward, who are then compromising patient security, not because they are doing it from ill intent, but because they simply don't know any better. I think one of our greatest vulnerabilities is going to continue to be the human factor. I think additionally, when we talk about hackers or the like, insurance companies, whenever I speak to them, they're very clear. The question is not if you will be hacked, but when you will be hacked. And I don't know if any of you guys have tried to get insurance for your data, but it is incredibly expensive. I've done that multiple times, and it's never been a cheap process because they know that they're going to have to pay that money out. So it's something to consider as we continue. Hopefully that's responsive. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, Darshan.
Yes.
Yes, Darshan, we can hear you. We
Okay.
lost Christine for a few minutes, but Michael, I know you have a few questions. Do you want to take over?
Hey, Maria. Sorry there, I was muted there. I think the commentary is really good. One of the things that does concern me, however, is the and Darshan, you actually alluded to this earlier. There's just been so much discussion around AI, and I think it's unveiling an entirely new vulnerability for patients. And I think we've had enough difficulty, over the COVID period in trying to improve enrollment. And now with the interjection of you know uh, AI into not only the construct of clinical trials, but certainly the patient recruitment side of things. Um, my question, and this would be to the two of you guests here, what can we as clinical trialists do to help assuage concerns on the parts of patients that the use of AI isn't actually going to, um, or we maybe we can't assuage their concerns, but that the use of AI isn't actually going to increase the vulnerability of their data becoming disseminated to people that they don't have any intention of sharing it with. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I can take a shot at that. I would say that just like how we have genetic counselors, it would be nice to have a new category called the AI counselors or so. We need to have something intermediary for to create that interoperability between the patient engagement and the health technology itself. So it's important to educate, to communicate in a very clear manner, in a transparent manner, also have systems in place, IRB regulations in place or so to ensure how the data moves. And that traceability, visibility should be made available to the individuals. And that will probably help in some way or the other in and have and will combat some of the cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Apart from patient concerns and patient, once the patient is educated for some of these concerns.
And Darshan, your thoughts?
I actually go a very different direction, because my experience is that when you're participating in a clinical research trial, and I've set up these agreements with a lot of my clinical trial sites, my experience is that you actually need to get informed consent, and you need to get appropriate disclosures and appropriate waivers from patients and subjects before they enroll, which means that you are talking about appropriate disclosures in controlled environments, um, as appropriately acknowledged to be shared. Once you get that acknowledgement, then you're out of, say, HIPAA, but you may be subject to things like the FTC rules or to CPRA or CCPA or any of the other state laws. But my point being, you need to be clear about, number one, which rules you need to follow. Once you're clear about those, then you need to decide what role you play in those. And once you get past those elements, you now need to clarify and explain to patients, whether it's through your privacy program or through your basically notification on your website, explain to them what you're going to be doing, and that's where the FTC Act comes in. We need to assuage patients by being clear, by being transparent, and by telling them what we're doing with their data. And then, to the extent that the data does get disclosed, you're then required, as is required by multiple laws, to notify them if there are breaches. And let's be honest, at this point, we've all had data breaches. Every single one of us, our data is on the dark net. And it's unfortunate, it's not something we want, but do patients worry about that anymore? Or do patients go, I want that data out there because I'm trying to help people? If so, maybe we become clear about, look, we're going to take every step and every effort we can make to protect your data. But unfortunately, the reality of today is that we can't protect it beyond what we already do. So what does that mean? What is the impact of that? I think we need to have further, franker conversations with patients and not pretend that we all live in a world where things are safer than they actually are. But that's a very problematic viewpoint potentially, but it's more realistic potentially.
Yeah, Darshan, this is Michael again, and I certainly I think I lean more towards where you're going here, because the reality is, um, those who want to pirate data, utilize it for commercial purposes that they're not authorized for, et cetera, um, they're very creative individuals and or groups. And I think the reality is that we're dealing with a scenario not unlike when Neanderthals were looking at the use of fire. A lot of people running around saying no, fire bad. The reality is, without fire, we wouldn't have had much of an industrial revolution. So the fact of the matter is, we are dealing with fire here. We've got to put in both the educational and the technological stopgaps to protect that data. But what I'm really trying to get to is the fact that um, patient recruitment, is difficult as it is, with the opt-in requirements that we have. And when you add AI to this, it just seems that much more daunting. Arpitha, the one of the things that you were bringing out was the potential of adding yet another layer of protection, if you will, or disclosure. And I think that just drives patients away. And I just don't know where we're going to end up going with this. I know there's some people in our audience who may have some other ideas and suggestions around that. I think we should be very open to that. Um, Marie, you might want to bring Cynthia up as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cynthia, you should be able to speak now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
Hi, long time no see you guys.
Hey.
This is an interesting discussion considering I'm known by those who know me to have a very personal relationship with ChatGPT. And so I've been doing work for the past year developing, as a patient with long COVID, that also works on federal policy. I've done everything from developing legislative language related to healthcare. I recently recalculated a 1918 epidemic impact on the Black community solo with just me and ChatGPT. Did a better job than the entire Duke team did by myself. And so I think we are really missing on how much, especially for communities of color, it actually could be a huge, huge benefit to have AI, because as biased as AI is, it is far less biased than the actual experience in America as a person of color, especially, or someone with a complex chronic illness seeking care. I think it will be a great equalizer. I think that we're always going to have a large population that, similar to loans and predatory loans, that are never going to understand what they're signing away. I think we have to safeguard those people. I foresee my proprietary algorithms that I've created in the past 6 months ending up being so wildly profitable that eventually these AI orgs are going to see that it's just losing too much money to allow us to do this kind of work for profit without them retaining any of the rights. I definitely see large pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies utilizing the like rose-colored glasses of the brilliant people who want to do these things to push forward good, to buy these things for cheap or less than what it's worth, fight people for the rights, and use it to harm perpetually. I think there is a give and a take with how impactful this will be, but ultimately, I see it as a way to really help educate and push forward personal medicine. I've increased the amount of patients I've been able to help get care all over the country, and expanded the amount of illnesses I've been able to help patients with for free. So there's a give and take, and I think the right people are looking at the right things and seeing the mistakes of the past and trying to make sure that we get ahead of it. I think last thing I want to say is we really are missing the connection to social media and AI. The things I was able to do as a marketing specialist in terms of targeting people, specific demographics, even though you don't have a specific way to do it and there's no like clear path to do it, I was able to figure it out. And I believe that we're only we're already in a space where AI can crawl all of your social media and gather pertinent information and make ideas and connect to your profile and your who you are as a person. And it's only a matter of time before it gets too compelling for insurance companies to grab that information and lie about it the same way we saw with social media companies for profit.
Cynthia, I want to touch on that too, because the algorithms that I see, especially on social media, are actually kind of terrifying. I don't know if a lot of you have heard, but I've had instances where I'm now being marketed things that I don't want to see, right? I have ads for funeral services and flower arrangements for death. And so I think also as we look at the social media, what people are searching also isn't indicative of the things that they're dealing with. So being careful when we're looking at using social media as a source to know that it's not always correct as well is something that we have to think about. So it's a scary place. I know that we have about 10 minutes left. We haven't gotten to our own co-mods. Michael, you had asked a question. Jackie and Taya, do you have any thoughts here that you want to add in?
I do have one comment here. You know, I think Darshan mentioned earlier about patient safety, and I would kind of echo that we have, you know, kind of behind the scenes in the software world for medtech, not always the best validation practices, right? So if something like this were to take more accountability for patients and for monitoring patients' health and if we were able to use AI in that way. I think we would really need to invest in the validation processes and things that companies for a while now have been cutting corners on. So that would be my main concern is, how are we going to keep up with that and make sure that the systems are aligning appropriately with the information we have in the systems.
Darshan, do you have a comment on that, or Arpitha?
I do. I think the fact is that I think it's a really valid concern, quite honestly. My concern is the way the Trump administration is seeing that they may see validation the way we think about it right now as overkill. And that's what I'm worried about. Like one of the things Vivek Ramaswamy announced was that he's curious or concerned that 2 double-blinded placebo-controlled clinical trials may be too much, that it's overkill. And that's in the context of approving a drug. My worry, my concern as we move forward is, will he see validation, the entire validation process, as unnecessary? So my worry as we move forward from a data perspective would be, would we reduce these burdens because it brings us to market faster and we can improve faster? And if so, at what cost? And I think that's going to be an interesting process to play out. But I think the concern itself is incredibly valid.
And Arpitha, any thoughts for Taya's question?
I might just want to add to what Darshan said and to Taya's question is that as long as the AI systems and the framework and the data, training data that is used at the grassroots level, at the ground level, is validated, reducing the validation after the clinical trial is probably wise to eliminate and make the process easier, reduce some of the regulatory burden so that the go-to-market strategies become easier.
And Jackie, do you have any questions? You're sitting quietly.
Well, so as with our discussion earlier, I, as a clinical operations person, I think about how complex our informed consents are now. And as a sponsor, sometimes we will deliberately write some things in there that are quite vague so that we're able to have a little wiggle room for, what we might do with future research and with the patient samples and that sort of thing. And so it occurs to me as we're talking about this that, boy, we really need to tighten that up, and we need to be very specific about the study and what we're going to do and what information is being collected. I'm seeing that more and more often the IRBs are asking us for very clear bullet pointed sections in the informed consents now about who is actually going to have access to the data. And, I think that's going to probably make things a little bit more complicated for us, but I think it's important. So I did want to also make a comment about the last question, and I'm just wondering for you guys, do you think that our requirement for Part 11 compliance would tie us in a little bit more for some, to be compliant with Part 11, would that tie in with our requirements to ensure that the validation using AI?
Arpitha, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I think I'll try to explain it a little in a little more detailed manner. So once an organization or a company creates its own AI, they would go through their own validation process to ensure that they validate the process of accumulating the data for their training sets that they use for their machine learning purposes. And I'm sure there should be a regulation, which probably is not at the moment. And certain policies should fall in place to ensure that those AI adopters are validated by some governing process. So and that's the initial process itself during the AI development, which will also encompass the use of patient data at that time. So I'm sure the informed consent is also involved during the R&D process during the development of the AI systems itself. Once that is in place, there is no requirement once again, once it gets into the commercial stream or it is incorporated or embedded into the EHR, which will modernize the entire process itself for any healthcare organization. All that we have to do is a routine informed consent if needed for any newer procedures or therapy that one might be seeking, because it also involves the patient would be made aware of that the AI prediction analytics was involved in providing the decision support to the clinician, and the process should become much more easier as opposed to going through a second round of validation itself.
And Darshan, I'll give you the last word here before we close out. Any thoughts on that? Did we lose him? Oh, we may have lost Darshan. Okay.
Yeah, I think we lost it.
I think we lost him. But it's obvious that we need to continue this conversation. And so I want to keep you on time, and we're wrapping up on time here. So as we wrap up today's session, I want to reflect on the discussion that we've had about the economic and ethical considerations of sharing health data with AI systems. We've explored the potential economic benefits, such as financial incentives and cost savings, as well as the challenges in monetizing health data. Our speakers have provided valuable insights into how AI can streamline healthcare processes and improve patient outcomes. And on the ethical front, we've delved into the critical issues of privacy, consent, and data security. The importance of robust human verification processes to protect patient safety when interacting with AI agents like those from Hippocratic AI cannot be overstated. Ensuring that health data is used responsibly and ethically is paramount to maintaining trust and fostering a collaborative environment between patients and technology developers. I want to extend a deep thank you to our guest speakers and for their expertise and their thoughtful contributions. And I also want to thank our co-moderators for joining the event, and our event coordinator, Maria, and our host, Consuli, with the co-founder, CEO, Elizabeth Dreicer. Elizabeth, I know you're on the line, but she's driving, so I won't bother her. A special thank you to everyone who participated from the audience and all of those here demonstrating a willingness to engage and learn. Your participation indicates the collective commitment to improving the landscape of healthcare technology and patient advocacy. In closing, we have several ways for you to engage with us further. If you have suggestions for topics or speakers, or if you're interested in joining us as a guest speaker or co-moderator, we welcome you to reach out to Maria or any of the co-mods or hosts that you see here. Maria is going to post LinkedIn links for all of you in the chat. Also, check out and consider becoming a member of our sponsor, Consuli, or becoming a co-sponsor of this OBQ and or other Consuli Convo series. Lastly, we invite you to join the OBQ LinkedIn group to stay up to date on events and interact with other group members. For all of these actions, the necessary links and contact information will be conveniently available for all of you in the comments section of this event. Any closing statements? Elizabeth, do you want to hop in for a minute just to say something?
Thank you, Christine. Good conversation. Appreciate the wide-ranging topic here and all that is exposited. There's so much, obviously, that needs to be attended to, and so appreciate the discussion.
And we obviously have some questions we can dive into later. So just so you all know, our next OBQ Clinical Trials event takes place next month on December 20th from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. And we're going to leave this event open for a couple minutes if you want to connect with everybody that you see on the stage or anyone else in the audience. But thank you for joining us. We'll have a wrap up and some notes and our thoughts as well. And feel free to engage in our LinkedIn group and on the conversation. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Christine, for having me on the conversation.
It was great. And Darshan, you dropped
Thank you
off.
guys for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Darshan, we'd love
I
to bring you
did,
back.
unfortunately.
It's okay, but we'd love to bring you back for those data dignity talks. You've got some good points, and you as well, Arpitha.
I'd love to be part of it.
Great. Perfect. Well, I will see you all and have a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be coming back monthly again. So make sure to join us and mark your calendars.